Hi guys, welcome back to the Welsh Political Explainers YouTube channel. My name is Lewis and I'm a recent politics graduate from Cardiff University. I started the channel because I felt that there was an extreme lack of online content relating to Welsh politics, Welsh history and Welsh geography, and I wanted to change that just a little. So that's the main reason as to why I started the channel. So in this video I wanted to take sort of a brief look at sort of the history of Wales's capital city, with that being Cardiff. Firstly, I wanted to take a short look at what and where Cardiff is. Cardiff is located in central South Wales on the Bristol Channel. It has a population of 362,400 and a further population of 1,097,000 in its wider metropolitan area. It is the single largest city in the whole of Wales and the 11th largest city in the wider United Kingdom or UK. Cardiff is officially classified as the City and County of Cardiff, which makes it one of the 22 principal local government areas from across Wales. Cardiff was granted city status in 1905 by King Edward and was announced as the capital city of Wales in 1955. Cardiff derives its name from the Middle Welsh word Cardiff, which in turn gains its meaning from a post-Roman Brythonic word that means the fort of the Taff. The River Taff is the main river that flows through Cardiff city centre, and the fort refers to the Roman fort which was built on the site that is now Cardiff Castle. Now I wanted to move on to the history of Cardiff. Archaeologists estimate that the area surrounding Cardiff was first settled by humans by at least 6000 BC during the early Neolithic period. Until the Roman conquest of Britain, Cardiff was the territory of various Celtic tribes that all mostly flourished in the Iron Age. Most of these tribes' territories would eventually become the Welsh county of Glamorgan. In 75 AD, a Roman fort was constructed close to the mouth of the River Taff, located near present-day Cardiff Castle. The Roman fort is believed to have been abandoned in the early 200s AD, although by this time a civilian settlement was also established in the area of present-day Cardiff. Little is known about the civilian settlement in Cardiff around the time that the Romans left Britain in 388 AD. After the conclusion of Roman rule in the UK, Wales was divided into several small kingdoms, and that named Murray ap Tudrig emerged as the local king in Gwynedd, which later became Glamorgan. Overlordship of the area passed through the nobility of this kingdom then into the Norman invasion of Cardiff in the 11th century AD. A wider settlement sprung up around the former Roman fort in the Middle Ages and had a population of between 1,500 and 2,000. Cardiff became the centre of the Norman martial lordship of Glamorgan and received a series of royal charters between 1331 and 1400. In 1404, Owen Glendower burned the settlement in Cardiff and took possession of its castle as a part of his uprising against English rule in Wales. As many buildings in Cardiff at the time were made from timber, most of Cardiff burned to the ground and was mostly destroyed during Owen Glendower's uprising. A statue of Owen Glendower was unveiled in Cardiff during the early 20th century. However, his destruction of Cardiff in the Middle Ages caused this to be somewhat controversial at the time and remains so today. In 1536, the Laws in Wales Acts incorporated the whole of Wales into England as part of a single kingdom, and Cardiff became the county town of Glamorganshire. By the 16th century, Cardiff had become a busy port, and in 1573 it was made a head port for the collection of customs duties for the Kingdom of England. On the 30th of January, 1607, Cardiff was struck by a series of terrible floods that devastated much of the town and even caused the course of the River Taff to change. Some scholars, such as Professor Simon Haslett of Bath Spa University and Ted Bryant of the University of Wollongong, have argued that the historical accounts of the event indicate that Cardiff could even have been struck by a tsunami at the time, although this is somewhat disputed. During the Second English Civil War in 1648, an important battle was fought in St Fagans in the west of Cardiff, and this was won by Oliver Cromwell's forces from the New Model Army. This battle is considered to be the last serious battle fought in Wales, and it allowed Oliver Cromwell to conquer the rest of Wales therefore after. Cardiff then remained at peace for much of the rest of the 17th century. In 1778, John Stewart, Baron of Cardiff, began renovating Cardiff Castle, and by the 1790s, under his stewardship, Cardiff had gained numerous features such as a racecourse, a printing press, and a bank. Eventually, by the latter part of the 1790s, Cardiff had even gained a stagecoach service to London. Despite the quality of life improvements, Cardiff was still a relatively small settlement. In 1801, the first ever census of England, Scotland and Wales found that the population of Cardiff was only 1,870, putting it well behind other large Welsh settlements such as Swansea, although it is important to note that the overall population of Wales was only 541,546 at the time. In 1793, John Crichton Stewart, 2nd Marquess of Bute, was born. The majority of his life was spent overseeing the building up of Cardiff's Dockland area. Cardiff's first university was opened in 1883 and a British military presence was established in the city with the completion of Maindee Barracks in 1877. Cardiff's dominance as a port was challenged by Barry's docks in the latter part of the 1880s, and coal exports from Barry eventually surpassed Cardiff by 1901. Although Cardiff's coal exchange remained in control of the administration of South Wales's coal trade. By 1891, Cardiff's population had grown to 142,114, and in 1905 it was granted city status for the first time. In the 1910s and 1920s, Cardiff gained various Welsh cultural institutions such as the Welsh National Museum, the Welsh National War Memorial, and even a Roman Catholic church in 1916, although Cardiff was denied the National Library of Wales because it was not considered to have a Welsh population. However, by the mid-1930s, Cardiff's dock trade had declined to less than half of their previous volume compared to the 1910s. In the 1940s, Cardiff was bombed by Nazi Germany as part of the Second World War. The continued bombing of the city between 1940 and 1944 led to widespread damage across Cardiff, including extensive damage to Llandaff's Cathedral. After the Second World War, Cardiff was recognised as the capital city of Wales for the first time. Carnarvon also wanted the title, but Cardiff was chosen given that it was the largest city in Wales at the time and Carnarvon was relatively small in comparison. Cardiff then hosted the British Empire and Commonwealth Games in 1958, bringing a large amount of international attention to the newly declared Welsh capital. Cardiff became the administrative capital of Wales in 1964, when the UK government's Welsh office was established in the city. This brought with it other important public bodies, such as the Arts Council of Wales and the Welsh Development Agency, which became newly established in Cardiff for the first time. In the 1980s, Cardiff's population actually began to shrink, with the population falling from 290,227 in 1971 to 274,500 in 1981. However, by the late 1990s, this trend had started to reverse, with Cardiff's population growing to 292,150 in 2001. As covered in some previous videos, in 1997 there was a Wales-wide referendum held on establishing a devolved government in Wales for the first time. The referendum returned a narrow yes vote, and Cardiff looked like the likely home of the newly created devolved institutions in Wales. However, Cardiff's local authority area had actually voted against the creation of devolved institutions in Wales, and so the development in Cardiff was thrown into question. Wales's devolved government was originally intended to be housed at Cardiff City Hall, but this eventually proved to be impossible, given the apparent opposition from Cardiff City Council. Hill in Cardiff Bay was chosen as the home of Cardiff's devolved institutions in 1999, and this led to a massive redevelopment of Cardiff's docklands and the wider Boot Town area. Work on the Senedd building was completed in 2006, and that concluded the massive redevelopment of Cardiff Bay. The Senedd and the various incarnations of the Welsh Government have now been housed in Cardiff for over 2 decades. The completion of the redevelopment for Cardiff's docklands brought the city into the modern era, and it has continued to flourish ever since. Over 90 languages are now spoken in Cardiff, and the city has become a modern metropolitan metropolis. Cardiff is considerably more diverse than Wales as a whole and has remained Wales's largest city since the Victorian era. With over 1 million people in its wider urban area, Cardiff has really come to earn its title as the capital city of Wales. That covers everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope it goes some way in providing greater detail relating to the fascinating history of Cardiff as the capital city of Wales. Whether you're a resident of the city of Wales or of the wider world, I hope you found this brief look at Cardiff's history interesting, and hopefully it even encouraged you to visit the city and its various attractions if you haven't already. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Really, thank you so much. If you found the video useful or interesting, please subscribe to the channel and share it with another curious friend. I'd really appreciate it. Also, subscribing will make sure you don't miss the next video whenever I get around to uploading it. On a final note, if you're interested in keeping up with me, then give me a follow over on Twitter at Welsh Explainers or Instagram at Welsh Political Explainers. Thanks very much. See you in the next one.